beautiful soul. Welcome to Frequency of Love. I'm Mistress Ana, certified coach, holistic therapist, and founder of King Academy and Love Association. And this is your space for honest conversations about who you are becoming, and everything in between. Let's begin. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Frequency of Love. Now take a deep breath with me. Inhale and exhale. Arrive here. Today we are going to talk about something that lives quietly inside almost every difficult moment of intimacy. We are going to talk about trauma, not as a diagnosis, not as a label, as the very real, very human reason that closeness sometimes feels more danger than like safety. And I want to do something different today. I don't want to give you a theory of trauma. I want to help you recognize it in your body, in your relationships, in the specific moments where intimacy either opens or closes for you. Because once you can see it, you can begin to change it. Before we go any further, there is something important you need to know. Trauma does not have only one face, it has two. And both of them are working on you. The moment intimacy deepens or connection deepens, the first phase is what most people picture when they hear the word trauma. It is visible, it has a story. It is actually the abuse you survived, the violence you witnessed, the betrayal that broke something, the loss that left a wound you can point to exactly. This is what we might call event trauma. It has a moment, a story, a before and an after, and although it can be deeply hidden, it is at least nameable. Now, the second phase of trauma is harder to see. It has no single moment, it has no obvious story that you can recognize, or recognize straight away at least. It is built quietly over years. It is built out of thousands of small experiences that taught your nervous system what was safe and what was not. Can be the parent who was emotionally absent even though they were physically there, the love that was conditional, the home where certain feelings were not allowed, the childhood where your needs were inconvenient, the relationship that taught you gently and consistently that being yourself was risky. This is subconscious trauma, pattern trauma, the kind that hides inside the words, "That's just how I am." The first kind you can usually point to, the second kind you usually mistake for your personality, and both of them shape how you are. Even trauma tends to show up in intimacy through the body. Sometimes it's loud, a specific touch, a specific position, a specific tone of voice sends the nervous system into alarm. The body freezes, or reacts or leaves. Sometimes it is quiet, a subtle bracing during closeness, numbness that comes online when things get too real, too close. A part of you that watches the experience from a small distance, as you would be not quite inside your own skin. And how do you recognize this kind of trauma at work? You will usually find that there is a memory attached, even if the memory is wordless. The body remembers what the mind has agreed to forget. And if you listen carefully, the body will tell you when it was first afraid. What helps with this phase of trauma is work that meets the body directly. Somatic methods that allow the frozen response to finally complete. trauma-informed therapy that goes slowly enough that the nervous system does not have to defend. Held spaces with consent, with structure, with safety, where the body can do now in safety what it could not do then. The healing here is not about telling the story differently. It is about letting the body finally finish the response it never got to finish. Pattern trauma is sneakier. It does not arrive as a clear reaction, it arrives as a way of being in relationships. It is sudden withdrawal, and you do not understand. You do not understand the moment someone starts loving you well, you react, you run away, you disappear. It can be the urge to control, to make sure your partner never gets too close to the parts of you that you yourself avoid. It is the performance, becoming who they want, so that you never have to risk being who you are and not being chosen. It is the numbing that happens during intimacy that you mistake for not being attracted enough, or it can be the way you choose again and again partners who confirm what you already believe about love. And how do you recognize this kind of trauma at work? It will usually feel familiar, it will feel like just the way you are, it will feel like the truth about relationships, not like a wound speaking. Now the clue here is this: when the pattern is a wound, it will be old. The reaction will feel disproportionate to what is actually happening. You will find yourself responding to your partner as if they were someone else entirely, someone from the past. And that someone else, almost always, is a person from your earliest experiences of love. And here is one question. In the middle of a strong reaction, pause and ask, how old does this feeling feel? Now, if it's very, very old and is 10 years, 12 years, then it is not your adult self responding. It is your younger part of you, and that is something different. That younger you is still trying to navigate a relationship or a situation that ended decades ago. That single question begins to separate you from the pattern. And the moment you can see the pattern, you have begun to free of it. Now here I want to be very clear about something. The point of tracing trauma back to its source is not to blame anyone. Not your parents, not your culture, not your past, not your boyfriend, husband. The point is to give the body what it has been waiting for. Understanding, acknowledgement. Because the body cannot release a pattern that does not know it is holding. Every protective response you have in intimacy was built for a reason that once made sense. Now, withdrawal protected you from being abandoned again. The control protected you from chaos. The performance protected you from being rejected. The numbing protected you from feeling something that no one ever helped you feel before. Now, these were not flaws. They were survival. And when you can see them as survival, not as a failure, not as a brokenness, not as a proof that you were wrong, something in you begins to soften. That shame begins to lift, and under the shame, the pattern itself begins to have a little more room to change. So what do we actually do? Awareness is the first work. You cannot release what you cannot see. The first move is always to begin noticing in your body, in your reactions, in your relationships, in your partners that you choose. Find places where the old patterns are still running. Acknowledge them, analyze them, and not to fix them, just to see them in the beginning. The body will help you if you let it. A tightening in the chest is information. A pain in the chest or in the stomach, in the throat, A withdrawal is information. A sudden flood of fear or anger or numbness is information. Treat these moments as messages, not as malfunctions, because the second work is naming. Give the pattern words. Even if you only say them to yourself, you can say, "This is the part of me that learned love was dangerous. This is the part of me that learned softness was not safe. This is the part of me that learned very early that I had to earn being loved." Naming begins to process, separating you from the pattern. And now the third work is support. This is not work we are meant to do alone. For some people, this means therapy, trauma-informed therapy, somatic work, the kind of therapy that respects your body and not only the mind. For others, it means held communities, spaces with consent, with structure, with safety, where the nervous system can have new experiences that begin to rewrite the whole script. And for most people, can be a combination of both. What does not work is willpower. You cannot will the body out of patterns that were laid down before you had language. You can only give it new experiences, safe, repeated, consistent, until it begins to believe that something different is possible. That is how the rewiring actually happens, slowly, quietly, through the body. And I want to be honest about something that is rarely said clearly. When we leave these patterns unaddressed, they cost us something. They cost us the depth of connection that was possible, love. They cost us the pleasure that gets numbed because the body is too busy guarding. They can cost us partners we could have stayed with and we could have a relationship with and a family with. I'm not saying this to make you feel worse. I'm saying it because honestly, is the beginning of motivation. If you have spent years feeling that something is in the way of closeness you long for, you are right. Something is in the way and is something that can be addressed. I want to tell you what becomes possible when the pattern begins to release, not all at once, not perfectly, but slowly with real work in safe spaces. Intimacy begins to feel different. Touch starts to land instead of bouncing off. You find that you can stay in your body during moments you used to leave or run away. Conflict stops feeling like the beginning of abandonment. It begins to feel like something two others can move through together. You start to feel pleasure in places in the body you had quietly archived. You begin to notice when a partner is loving you well, and you can let it in. You stop performing, you stop bracing, you stop apologizing for the depth of what you feel. You become able to choose partners who can meet the version of you that is finally allowed to exist. And the most surprising thing that almost everyone says who has done this work is that you become again the person you were before you had to learn to protect yourself. That person is still there. It has been waiting. The work is the road back to them. And I want to do another episode focusing on the pain of the trauma and how we can manage the pain of the trauma, because that is a totally separate subject that I want to speak about. And I will also leave a link in the notes if you want to know much more about how to manage the trauma, if it's there, and the pain that is there. That episode will be for you. Now, if something in this episode landed in the right place for you, if some part of you recognize itself, and let me say to you what I say to everyone, sitting where you are sitting right now, you are not too much, you are not broken, You are not beyond healing. You are someone whose body learns to protect itself in the only way he knew. And now, slowly, gently, with the right support, that same body can learn something new. At Love Association, at Ging Academy, we hold space exactly for this work, for people who are ready to meet the patterns that have been running their intimate lives, and to begin gently to rewrite them. And now take a deep breath with me. Inhale and exhale. And be very gentle with yourself today. You have just looked at something that takes a lot of courage to look at. Thank you for being here with me. This is Frequency of Love, and I'm Mistress Ana, and I will meet you again in the next soul conversation.